The truth isn't positive or negative. It's just the truth. Now, here's some more of it. This is the Sports Source.
And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by our friends at Calhoun's. If you are headed to the UT Georgia game next week, be sure to stop by Calhoun's on the river before the game, or grab a family pack for tailgating, or get great Calhoun's food at their locations inside Neyland Stadium. When it comes to Tennessee football, Calhoun's is just part of it. Get out and see Calhoun's next Saturday. Heck, get out and see them today or any day until next Saturday, but certainly on game day, Calhoun's. All right, let me put up a graphic here. Good luck reading this. It may be a little small. My guys have these lists printed out in front of them. What you see on the left, that's Tennessee's offensive players who have played at least 75 snaps. On the right, Tennessee's defensive players who've played at least 75 snaps, and then the special teamers down below. You'll see when they signed, who they signed with, okay? So there's a whole lot of Jones out there that's still being played quite a bit. My question, the Pruitt's in red, Jones in black, for those of you that are colorblind, that you're in trouble. But Pruitt's name pops up, but not as much as Jones' name. My question for all these people who are talking about, well, let's go to a youth movement. Let's go to a youth movement. Who you want to bench? Trey Smith, Ty Chandler, Juwan Jennings? I mean, the problem with benching some of these, I get that Nigel Warrior's taking a beating this year, but who on here, in terms of going to a youth movement, are you really going to sit? So some of the best guys are the Jones guys, the upperclassmen.
Well, I know who the fans would vote for.
Okay.
There's
the
one
quarterback,
option,
certainly.
Yeah.
But all right, and fans are ripping Nigel Warrior. That's two.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But in terms of this idea, what I'm getting at is, I don't think that the idea of youth movement is really coming. They're playing a lot of young guys already, but you just don't have the depth to bench all these guys. And as it stands, a lot of your good players are the veterans. They are the older guys.
Yeah, and here's another example. He's actually a second-team guy, but Will Ignott leaving the team this week. He's going to be replaced by whom? Jeremy Banks or J.J. Peterson. Those are both Jeremy Pruitt guys. Or is either guy ready to play linebacker in the SEC? We'll find out probably, because at some point they're going to be needed, but my guess is no. And Ignott's not a high-level all-SEC player, but he's a guy that provided depth. Taking him off the team could provide potential problems moving forward. And
the interesting thing is Pruitt said that Banks could be one of the best linebackers he ever coached. That's a huge statement considering where he's coached. And then last week he really doesn't play at Florida except on special teams, which has he been hampered by ankle? Was that one of the reasons he was not down?
That was mentioned. Yes, that was mentioned.
That may be why he didn't play at Florida. But if you're talking about this guy he could be one of the best linebackers I've ever coached. Where is he?
Yeah, there's a real question if he's ready to play linebacker.
And John, if I look at this list and 197 snaps for Trey Smith, I don't know physically his conditioning is to the level he should be playing that many snaps. I'm not saying that's where you start. I also would look at Locklear. There's been some penalty problems there. But if you look position group, I don't see really a whole lot.
Well, that was the gist. Yeah, that was my point is there aren't a whole lot of – you're not going to look at the list and go, oh, yeah, him. Well, no, because he's better than him, he's better than him, and he's better than him. You can't sit these guys.
I think the one thing that jumps out to me, too, is just the lack of defined roles, especially on the defensive line. You need to get better on the defensive line. I'm not a football coach, but I think playing –
But you play one on TV.
Yeah, exactly. Playing completely different guys every single week. And I know Pruitt wants to preach competition in practice, but you have a guy in Matthew Butler who they point out as the best defensive lineman in the entire spring, and in the season opener, he plays like 5 snaps. And then you have Kurott Garland, who's in the transfer portal for almost the entire camp and isn't really even working in the spring, comes back like a week before the season, and you rely on him week 1. Then he kind of disappears. Then last week at Florida, you have Butler's back. Butler's playing a ton of snaps. It just feels like they're just rolling dice every week and throwing new guys out there. And it's kind of like the offensive line, that if you don't have guys playing consistent snaps, you're going to have a bunch of guys getting slightly better, and you're not going to have guys actually improving.
You've had that at quarterback, too, because they said if anything happens to Garantano, we're going to probably go to Shrout first. And then it's Maurer that goes in at Florida, which maybe some of these guys are passing other guys in practice, and we don't see that, and they don't update us with the late. Oh, by the way, you know what I said last week? I've updated that. Pruitt's not exactly forthcoming with the local media. But when you look at this across the board, and I don't know if, Chris, I hate to challenge you, but if you can get that graphic back up there. But when you look at it across the board, there's just not a lot of area to be benching the older guys. There's a reason they're on the field. It's because they're playing better than the younger guys. Now, I'm not saying the younger guys aren't good players. They may turn out to be great players. But right now, they're just incredibly young. And if you're Jeremy Pruitt, can you afford to do the youth movement thing? I mean, here's the deal. He's trying to fight for every win he can get, obviously. If he just says, well, we're going to the youth movement, and he winds up 1-7, we'll talk about that later.
Yes.
Then I'm wondering about his job security. I don't know, he's building it for the next guy. So that's a concern in terms of, even if you did say, well, we're just going to bench all the old guys and say to heck with this season, what does that do for your job security?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Chuck. I think if you're looking at one position where maybe you could do that and not open yourself up to complete liability, it's probably the offensive line. But even that, it's still, they've sort of found a 5, kind of, maybe.
Yes.
But we'll see. They still have to play a game next week, and maybe they didn't. And it's just, maybe they leaned in a little bit on Calbert and Wright and Morris, and then of course you have Kennedy and Smith, who can't really go anywhere. Those guys are locked in there. But what do those snap counts look like the rest of the season? And it's no real good answers.
No, there aren't.
Yeah, it's kind of already started, right? And you have Darnell Wright and Wanya Morris, who are starting.
Yeah, so that is a
Henry
huge
To'oTo'o is starting at linebacker. They're not going to play all freshmen. That's
Warren
how
Burrell.
you lose in the SEC.
Warren Burrell.
Yeah.
They took Taylor down.
Yes.
Now, Taylor was a young guy too, but you replaced one. You put Burrell in first, and then you took Taylor out, but that's kind of a 1-for-1 in terms of on the field with Thompson out. And then last week it was Burrell and Thompson.
Eric Gray's playing at running back.
Yeah. So maybe he should be playing more. We'll discuss that a little later. Coming back, look, Butch Jones didn't build a good foundation, but he won a few games in the middle while he was trying to build with smoke and mirrors. We'll come back and talk about Jeremy Pruitt's need for smoke and mirrors. Come on back.